it makes a lot of sense that people will go on TikTok generally during this time of day, and then people go on
Hmm.
Instagram during this time of day, and Facebook, and whatever the case is. But how do you know? Like, how do you even know what those times are? Where do you even go to find it and analyze that type of data?
If you go into your settings, like if you have because you can usually, with any app, you can turn your account into like a creator's account or like a professional account. It varies from each app. And then it gives you the analytics. So it can tell you when your followers are most active, at what times and what days. So I try to go by that. I just also try to think, when would people be on their phones? Like, people wouldn't be on their phones at like 3 a.m. You wouldn't think, at least most people. So you try to
Hmm.
post like, okay, people would be on their phones at lunch, so I'm going to post at lunchtime. Or maybe right before dinner, people will be eating dinner and scrolling on their phones a little bit. So I just try to think about it like that, especially now, because now we're kind of in the change of season,
Hmm.
and every time it goes from like winter to summer, summer to winter, the times change all over again. So now I'm
Mm.
trying to figure out this summer schedule of when to post, and then come September, it's going to change all over again. So the algorithm's always changing, the analytics are always changing. You just kind of always have to. That's another thing you just have to be on top of.
Yeah, that sounds like a whole nother day in
And
itself. So I know that you
mm-hmm.
plan, you plan your recording days and your recording times. Do you also have a day that you're solely just doing like research and just like looking at your analytics, and or do you even use your analytics to plan your content in the future?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes like today was kind of like a day like that, where I was kind of thinking about what content I'm going to be doing next, and I was looking at analytics, seeing what were days where people were online more, what times, and I was on my calendar planning out what days I'm going to drop what things. All the way, I have things planned out until October, so it can go, you can pre-plan pretty far. But yeah, that's what today was. It was one of them days where you just kind of have to look at everything and see how it's performing, and see where you can make changes, and what things are working and what things aren't. So
Man, you said October. I got content planned all the way up to next week. You talking about next quarter? Like, okay, so where does your brain go to where you're able to even plan that far in it, like far in advance, and like what type of templates that are you even using that allows you to plan that far advance? Are you planning that far advance with posting content every single day, every other day, every week? Like, what's the cadence to this?
so at least in what I do, I mean, you can't like do this for everything, but I generally, I can look ahead, and like with anime or comics or just things that are coming out, I know that, okay, this show is coming out in October. So I want to pre-plan to have like a cosplay and content that's centered around this character from this show that's going to be coming out in October. So I'll think that far ahead. So then everything's planned out and ready to go. I'll make sure I have videos to put out maybe that week that the show comes out. So it's there, because at that time, the algorithm, or people just in that community are going to be talking about it. So if you're making content that is in the algorithm at that time, then you have a higher chance of your content being seen by more people, being seen by your own followers, because sometimes that's a struggle. And yes, it's just the way that it works out specifically for me. And I don't know. It's just it sounds like crazy to plan out things like a couple months ahead, and it can always change. But so it's just what you have to do, especially for like cosplayers and content creators. Like, for Halloween, it's like a big holiday for us. You're basically posting the whole month. So I take maybe August and September and kind of just work through that whole month to have everything to post in October. So it could get crazy, but it's kind
Yeah.
of it's what you have to do.
And it's different strokes for different folks, right? You may not like for someone like me, I may not have to plan out content all the way up to
Right.
October. But for you, when it comes to like outfits and makeup and all these other things that you got to get in advance, making sure the wardrobe fit properly, like then it makes sense. So you really just got to do a good job of just identifying what your audience is, what your type of content is, and going that way. And of course, looking at those analytics. So what if you don't have any analytics, right? Like you just now getting started. For you with building your pages up, from the ground up, how did you get started with not having any data, not really knowing what your fans are going to like versus what they dislike yet? Like what was the best way possible if you're talking to somebody new who is scared as heck of this new generation of creating content for business or even just for exposure? What would be some advice or some steps that you would give, that person?
To definitely just be consistent. I feel like that's the most important thing because just on the internet, you can be gone for a month, and for some people, that can feel like a year. So to have a consistent schedule so people can, because people expect content out of you. So if you're not delivering enough content for them, then they're going to go away. They're going to unfollow. So I think the best thing that you could do is to plan ahead so you can have consistent content and definitely it's cliche, but do things that you like because people can tell when you make content about things that you don't like or you don't enjoy because it comes off forced and that you have to. And that's just what I did. I was consistent because I was home and I just made things that I liked, and I still do that. I still go by that consistency and just doing what you like, and you'll get to the place that you want to be eventually. For some people, it's quicker than others, but that to me, that's the key is being consistent.
Throw that out there. That consistency is key. I'm even going to add to that, Kayla, right? Because consistency and doing what you like, doing what you love, those are both important. But I'm even going to add doing what you're knowledgeable about too.
Yeah.
Like, as far as the educational space, right? Because I feel like now, because people see in digital real estate with like course creation and stuff like that, people are making a lot of money creating courses or educational platforms, and now you're starting to see the quick capitalist trying to capitalize off of that and creating courses that are not necessarily about what they're knowledgeable on. So it's even, and people can read through that. The average person can read through it. You got some people who can be so distressed, so desperate to make a change in their life that they can't see through the facade, which is where it comes to like people manipulating and manipulation, all that stuff. But you're all right. You got to do what you love, and you got to be consistent. And I've even found that myself, like the differences between when I can go 2 weeks posting every single day for that 2 weeks versus when I just miss a weekend, like how I can go up and down, like and lose all the followers that I just got. So for you, I guess my question is, let's say you having an emergency and it doesn't permit you to post every single day or as consistently as you got your followers used to, because you could post maybe every 3 days and they just know Kayla about to drop on this Wednesday and then that Saturday. But what do you feel like is the best way to create those sticky followers that don't unfollow when you become a little bit inconsistent because of emergencies or things that you need to tend to just in your personal life as humans that we are guaranteed to have?
I feel like it depends on the creator because if your followers really feel like they know you, if they like you, then I feel like they're more likely to stick around. because they just like you. They just like, and I'm the same way with certain people, because if you like the person, then you're going to stick around. Sometimes you just follow people off of what they do. Like sometimes people, let's just for an example, sometimes there's a streamer and they have followers because they stream this certain game. And that's why they have these followers, because they stream this certain game. Now, if they don't stream that certain game anymore, there's going to be a lot of followers that just fall back. And it's like, well, I was just here just because you were streaming this game, not necessarily for you. So I feel like your followers kind of have to be connected to you, to your content. But I feel like a lot of my followers are connected to me. And I purposely do that because I want that community. I want that back and forth. There's little sayings that they'll DM me and they'll send back and forth that they kind of just know my personality and they're kind of attached to it. And I feel like that's kind of how you get through that sticky follower stage.